Today on Down with Dedee, my mom will be having a conversation with Seth Gabel.
Wow.
Thank you for joining me on Down with.
Thank you for having me. That's such a great way to start it. My God.
Oh, thank you. I just really feel that people need light and love and support right now. And they need to know that they're not alone because there's a lot of noise in the world right now. And a lot of it's not very kind or loving. And it's very hate. And I just wanted to kind of like counter that with, a positive podcast that does talk about social issues that are a little hard to talk about. You know me, I'm recovering out loud. Nice to meet you, Dee Fiver. I'm recovering, from alcoholism. And they're like, wow, say that out loud. I'm like, because you have any idea how hard it is to talk about that. For those who are active in their disease, we are riddled with shame. Social stigma still is out there. It's getting better, but and anyway, I can bring light to any kind of addiction. It doesn't matter what that is, right? And when I talked to you, you had said, "Hey, I want to talk about an addiction." And they're gonna be like,
I even accidentally sent you a text that revealed part of it. I at a very young age, and this doesn't, I don't, obviously it doesn't compare to alcoholism, but it is a coping mechanism. Like I remember being introduced to a Nintendo, and like that was it. I was like 5 or 6 years old, and I was like, this is all I want to do with my life. And so video game addiction is a thing that I have dealt with and continue to deal with in my life. And I, whether it's a true addiction or not, like I don't know, but I know that it's something that I use and abuse to feel comfortable, to when I feel like I don't have control in my life. I like going into the box that is the TV and having a very clear set of rules and objectives. And it just, life becomes a lot simpler when, you're just pressing A, B, X, Y. And you either live or die. You can, if you die, you get to do it again. You get as many do-overs as you want. And it's such a safer environment than life, where if you make a mistake, like it can't be undone and you can't do it again. And so that's something that I find myself consistently wanting to go to as a coping mechanism when I feel vulnerable. And yeah, I mean, I'm certainly happy to talk about that, whatever you think is best.
Well, it's interesting because we have a tendency to think that addiction only applies to drugs and alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Babe, I was in rehab with meth heads, alcoholism, sex addicts, gambling addicts from the ages of 18 to 70, and some were frequent flyers. Relapse was part of their story because it was whack-a-mole.
Yeah.
They were able to say stop drinking, but then they went over and they started, or maybe meth, and then they would go to alcohol, and then they went to shopping, and then they went to sex or whatever, and the food, and it's whack-a-mole until we really do roots of the why one uses. It's always trauma-based. I would say trauma and addiction, they love to tango. They go really well together. So if you're dealing with the addiction and not the trauma and vice versa, that's a relapse waiting to happen. Having said that, there's different ways to I think interpret or analyze or look at addiction. The way I look at it is, if something affects your life in a negative way, then that's something I would look at twice. Because there are people who game and lose hours because it's by design. The game is supposed to suck you in, and you're supposed to lose hours, and it is an addictive way. But like, if you feel that you lose hours where you just like you're not eating, you're not taking a shower, you're not interviewing, I think then that could easily be looked at as an addiction, right?
It does to me that I find to be negative is like, I'm sure it's the dopamine response. Like I feel like it wears out my dopamine. The rewards that I feel in mundane life, it goes a lot down. And then I compare that to the way I feel when I'm playing a game. Like for instance, the game right now is Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and I play it with some friends of mine. We have a squad. We're very good. The game is designed to it's a battle royale where you're opening up chests and you get different guns that come out. So it's like a lottery machine or a slot machine of what you're going to get. And then when you win, it's like a really big high because it's a really difficult accomplishment and it takes a ton of strategy and work. But then going back to just being in a room quiet no longer is as glamorous anymore after that. And I know that that's a problem.
Listen, I'm all about transparency. I have not one two sons who play that game. When you accidentally sent me that, remember I said, do you want to be on the show?
I think I sent you a video of like a clip of us winning or something, and I was like, oops.
Had it been a picture of a bottle of vodka, I would have known exactly what it was. But because the video game, I went, Braxton, what is this? He goes, oh, that's the game. That's a really cool game. I said, oh, okay, of course. And I said, huh? And you go, oops, sorry, right? But of course he knew, because that's where I'm going with this. I got one, but two sons who are absolutely addicted to gaming, and constant challenge since the pandemic for them to incorporate back into the world. Also, a lot of their friends moved out of the state, so now they're all over the United States. And my one son, who went through a really tough moment, he started dabbling with pot and drinking and all that, and he went back, and now he's online college. But he says, Mom, when I'm not online college and doing that, all my friends that are here in town are using, because they're all that age. They're all like, well, pot's legal now, and drinking. They're going through that stage, which is why I'm sober now. And he, God bless him, is really trying not to do that. But all the ones that don't do that are like away. So the way he bonds is to get on after class and just start hitting those video games. And I hear him laughing, and like you said, oh, you got the kill, and I'm like, oh. What do you got the kill and you're experiencing joy? But I mean, and we talk about it. My boys and I talk about that.
Yeah. It's also conditioning you for these like zero-sum games where like there's a winner and a loser, and you're obviously not collaborating and creating something that's going to be like helping the world. There's also this like illusion of accomplishment where, you feel like you did something really great, but the second you turn that device off, like that you've actually accomplished nothing.
I think that's what you're talking about. There's the element of what you get, the dopamine hits and all of that. And by design, that's exactly what by design, you're supposed to be getting all that. That is smart. I have a friend who actually used to make these games, and they bring in a lot of people who know exactly how to suck you in. And, it's when you stop, like you said, and then the real world all of a sudden is boring and black and white and gray and not interesting.
Yeah.
What do you do? How do you balance that? Because actually I would love to know, because I'd love to. I'm like right dab in the middle of that with my boys.
I usually, and I imagine this is similar to an addiction cycle, like I usually find that it's kind of all or nothing for me. Like I either need to be doing the game, or like I have sold and rebought an Xbox in the course of my life, maybe like 10 to 15 times. Because like I'm going through it again, where it creeps its way back in, and I think I can be balanced about it. Like right now I'm trying a thing where we play Monday and Wednesday night, like me and my friends. But it creeps back in, and we end up on it every night. And or like, oh, my wife's taking a shower. The amount of times I get a text about a wife being in the shower, and so my friend can play for like 15 minutes or however long her shower is ridiculous.
Wine bottle. Oh my God. I hate to say it, but it does sound like an addiction. I do not mean to laugh.
No. Look, if I can speak to this issue, I certainly have a lot of experience.
I would buy a vodka bottle and go, just one drink, and I would drink and then I'd throw it away and be like, I'm not drinking the rest of that. Just stand by another one. Go, I'm okay. And then I'll go, well, I won't buy vodka, I'll buy wine, because that's less. And I don't even like beer. I'll buy beer. I don't even like beer, but then I have to drink like 20 beers to get that.
That's what happens to me. I'll play a game on the iPhone. I don't have an Xbox anymore. It's okay to play this game. It's okay to play Candy Crush. It's okay to play chess. But then the more hardcore stuff finds its way back in. I'm trying to find the California sober version of gaming, but I don't know if that exists.
All or nothing thinking is very much. I don't want to break the news to you, but we, at least in the rehab that I got sober in, all or nothing thinking is very common with someone who has an addiction. Now, I'm not gonna cancel out people who don't have an addiction who also have all or nothing thinking, because people just either have that or they don't. It's very common, and so moderation is going to be always challenging. That's what's going on, right? That's why some people use harm reduction with drinking, right? Where they kind of wean off, like I said, harm reduction in the field with those experiencing homelessness is more effective than abstinence, because what they're experiencing out there is horrendous, and they are self-numbing and self-medicating. So to ask them to go off heroin, probably not going to be effective, versus, hey, let's, instead of doing heroin, let's bring you over to pot. You know what I mean? And then start dealing with, at least pot, they're not aggressive, they don't have that, or meth, you know, and you start to wean them, harm reduction, and slowly then start to deal with the trauma and other issues in housing and what have you. But I'm not sure. For me, that never worked. I tried harm reduction with drinking, and I was way too clever. I, like you said, if someone's taking the shower, I was, oh, well, I'm going to go to the grocery store.
What is the harm reduction version? Is it a lesser version of a drink? Is it
slowly weaning versus just stopping? Because what happens when you stop is then you go into all or nothing thinking, right? And it's kind of, it's a little hard to explain, but basically it's a weaning process. It's basically what you were trying to do by saying only Mondays and Wednesdays, every night.
Yeah.
That question, not everyone's going to be successful with a weaning of something that they just really getting those hits from.
Yeah.
You know, it's difficult. It's not impossible, but it's really difficult. I think first it's awareness, right? I love that you're aware that this is something that bothers you enough to say, to come on my show and say, hey, I got this issue with gaming, right?
Yeah. There have been times that I diminish it because like it seems silly, but like there have been times that I really have looked online at video game addiction support systems, things like that, because it really did, like, as an actor, it's feast and famine. And so during the famine times, like as a coping mechanism, I would just go to this simulated reality where I could, like, get these rewards for accomplishing whatever BS thing is happening. And so, but then you begin to lose the sense of like meaning for yourself, because then like my meaning became acting on a set or like playing a game, and then anything else in between, except for like family and things like that, like it was hard to really have a sense of purpose around it. And so it became particularly concerning for me when I had kids, and I didn't want my son getting addicted as well, or my daughter. And
you said something really profound, and something I talk about a lot: purpose. They wake up in the morning. Now you're an actor. It sounds like you are you're a husband and you're a father, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're a good friend, and you're all these things, right? But so you have a purpose, but what happens is when we have an addiction to something, it kind of wipes out, like you said, the real meaning of what a purpose is. So I always say to my sons and other people who seem a little like waffling in that area, if you discover what your passion is, your purpose will follow. So your passion is acting, but it doesn't seem to be cutting it 100%, which is why you're going to this gaming, right? So like everything in between is this gray area. So it's almost like that's where the investigative work, the forensic work needs to be. What is it that gives you really like a high? I had to discover that. First, I had to get sober. I had to get rid of my DOC, drug of choice. And that can be gaming, shopping, sex, drugs, alcohol. It doesn't matter, right? But I think that if I were to give you advice, not that you're asking, but I know for me, I had to rediscover what my real passions were, because I had to really sit down and ask myself what the hell they were. I'd lost focus on how much I loved animals. I'd lost focus on and things on like Mother Earth and social welfare causes. And then what happened was I started to say, okay, you can go back to that, but let's put a pause on that. And I started to really investigate what it meant to get back into these things that I really had a passion for. It turned into like what my purpose was, right? So that keeps me from drinking. That keeps me from the addict, mind. The problem,
do you define that and articulate that into words that like kind of you can remind yourself of easily when you lose a sense of that?
Well, yeah, because for me getting sober, I had a rebirth. I mean, that was just a bottom line. When you give up one thing, you get many more in return. All those hours that you're using to game will seem like a lot of time and dopamine hits that you're going to lose. But I promise you, when you're able to turn that around, the dopamines you're going to get from like finding what your passion is in this new purpose will be so much more fulfilling, because first of all, it's not artificial. because the gaming is artificial, the booze is artificial, you know. And it does affect our lives. I bet you $5 if you were to ask people around you, maybe your wife while she's in the shower, she's like, is that son of a bitch out there gaming again? I swear to God, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I'm like, guys, today's Mother's Day, by the way. So
Yeah. Happy Mother's Day.
yeah, and some of my Mother's Days have been spoiled because of the gaming thing, honestly, you know. And I'm like, guys, you know, they're like, hold on, mom, it's just I got one more kill, and it's like, and they eventually get off, but it's like such a hit, and I kind of don't expect them to understand, because I'm like, well, they're children of alcoholic, you know what I mean? And this is their DOC right now, and I'm trying to show them what it looks like, you know, to not be hostage to your DOC every day that I'm not using the thing that envelops my life. So basically, it's more about self-discovery on who your authentic self is.
Yeah.
And finding other ways to connect with your friends. That's hard, because I know my son, he can't go to New York and Oregon and, you know, up north 5 hours where all his friends are to connect.
Yeah.
That's a hard one. So I empathize with that, and I don't have the answer to that. But I think though, you do have a life on the East and West Coast, from what I understand, right?
Yeah. We've been going back and forth.
I mean, to find something to fulfill that dopamine hits is going to have to be something really special to you, right? For me, I mean, you know what, my new drug of choice is, I sit there, I follow like Octanation and recovering farm animals who have disabilities, and they're like fixing them, and the elephants in the safari, Dean Schneider with the Mayans, just Nat Geo, he's out helping wolves and get out of the traps and just place animals, and just all of that stuff on a broader level when it comes to me. For me as a mother, I'd like for our Mother Earth to be a better place as we continue on, not worse. So I love hearing success stories or stories of people giving a damn. And that gives me a hit, like somebody cares out there about our Earth, because that means something to me. I don't know what that looks like for you. Other people, it might be a political thing, right?
Yeah.
It might be a cause. I don't know, but I think it has to be something that, you know, you get jazzed about.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
That's something I'm always needing to reinvestigate, because I lose a sense of it, and I forget what it is, and I feel like I have it for a while, and then I lose a sense of it again, and I don't know if it's, and I think it also changes over time. I think it's a moving target.
Oh, mine changes.
Cool.
Seth, that's
awesome.
my new addiction. Dude, there's a whole world out there. There's Gaia. There's all these people who've had encounters. And I'm not talking about all this other noise. 5% of it is actually true. That's the shit I'm interested in.
Which is plenty. Yeah.
And guess what? That alone, you can find a huge community of people just like me who go, well, we question things. We just go, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Why are they giants now? Everything's like eroding and going away and melting away, and things are starting to come up that don't make sense according to our history. But now these mythology now is all of a sudden coming to life. Like, wait a minute, maybe Goliath was actually a real person.
I just read Gilgamesh, which is like considered one of the oldest stories that we have, and it was written like 4,000 to 6,000 years ago. And it ends with the flood myth. It ends with like Noah's Ark flood myth, like told slightly differently. And I was like, those people stole this story and repackaged it for a different book. Like, this is crazy.
So let's ask you a question, the burning question I ask everybody: do you believe in the paranormal? Yes or no, and why?
I do. I do, because I had an experience using a medicine, a psychedelic medicine, where I saw beyond the veil of the universe and experienced non-duality for the first time. And non-duality is like, most of us experience the world as self and everything else is other. And when you recognize non-duality, you recognize that there is no difference between self and other, that it's all an illusion, and that all of this is like a prismatic manifestation of some kind of like higher power that is beyond our comprehension, and that to me composes of everything that ever can be imagined or possible, every possibility that could exist. There's this artist, Hilma af Klint. I have this on my phone. She made this painting.
Oh,
I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she's considered now the first abstract artist. And her work only recently became rediscovered because all these men were getting credit for being the first abstract artists. But it's because she died in 1944. She told the world that she made a rule that no one could see her art for at least 20 years. And so it gotten lost. And then in like 2018, I think the Guggenheim like rediscovered her and made this huge gallery. And she like practiced these seances and all of this stuff where she channeled this information about like the truth of the universe, and essentially is painting this version of non-duality, where to me, like, if you look at this, like, this kind of represents my personal philosophy of like, this is like, in this sun here is like everything that ever could possibly exist. And then this is like the rainbow bridge of like our three-dimensional reality, where it's kind of like broken down into terms we can understand. Like if everything all at once is, if God is a living organism, that is every possibility that could ever exist, like this reality is just one manifestation where we are God knowing itself through this kind of like simulated experience where we do have the illusion of otherness, where we're not just all by ourselves in a void somewhere, but like we can relate to each other by having this like paradoxical experience where we forget that we are all the same being, and we relate to each other and have conversations and host podcasts and go on podcasts and things like that. So, you know, when that's the basis of my thinking, like, and you say, do you believe in the paranormal? I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, I think everything that can exist does exist.
dude, you're saying exactly what I believe in. We're all connected. We are
Yeah.
all.
And after the insight I have now, because before you experience non-duality, you can hear it and you're like, oh, that kind of makes sense. But yeah, it sounds like that was a fun trip or something. But when you experience it firsthand and know it, like the way you feel the sunshine on your face and know that, you know, there's warmth there, like when you feel it that viscerally, it's something that I can never unsee. And it's something I will continue to integrate and process the rest of my life, because it's hard really knowing that, and then like going back to waking up in the morning and, you know, your knee hurts or your hip hurts or someone calls and the show gets canceled that you were doing, and, you know, you get into the nitty gritty of reality and you forget that you're a divine being that like created this in order to simulate all this experience, to know yourself and know what it is to relate to others. And like, you know, sometimes life is just a pain in the ass, and then you look for something to cope with.
The bottom line is, and I say this a lot in my podcast, but 95% of mankind around the world are interested, and their DNA is positive light, love, and harmony. We really do want to get along. We just do. We want love. We want everyone to get what they need to survive, and we do want that. We really do want to get along, whether religions are different and cultures are different. I mean, technically, if you really, you know, I think what we really want is equality, and we're just out. We need to get out from underneath a lot of stuff that it makes it really difficult to get us all together, right?
Yeah.
As long as they keep us distracted in the noise, we're not going to be together.
Mhm.
So there's a community, you just have to kind of reach out and try to find it, and you can find it. I gotta say, that's what social media is kind of good for right now.
Eventually, yeah. You can find
Yeah,
your niche, but you can find a ton of distraction as well.
Yes, I do find myself getting distracted maybe for like a half an hour on these damn feel good. There's a feel good movement app that all they do is run amazing stories about mankind doing nice things to mankind or with animals. I watch that all day long, and that's a dopamine. I mean, because I go, oh, there are good people. I'm not the only one. I'm not alone on this journey.
Yeah.
You have to kind of like know that it is a substitution for an artificial high that you're going to get from the game. So that's a toss up. But you know, all right, Seth, I'm going to ask you the last burning question.
Yeah.
You can be reincarnated. I wonder if your wife even knows this. If you could be reincarnated as any animal, what would it be and why?
I am jealous of my cats, and like to be a cat in a loving home, I imagine, is one of the greatest feelings on earth. to just be surrounded by comfort and just like the luxury of just a texture, a bed and like the warm sun and people just providing food for you and water and like different forms of stimulation. I mean, that would be that's the kind of comfort I think I'm seeking when I play a game and things like that is I want the comfort of being a cat in the sun, just being pet and having already eaten and all of that. So I think that's my answer.
Have it be easy, in other words. Just
Yeah.
The box is cleaned out for you so your paws don't get dirty, right? Vacuum up after your damn hair.
But I'm also really interested in being a dolphin as well.
Dolphins are amazing.
Dolphins are super cool. And like just to have that ability in the water to be able to maneuver the way they do and play and like communicate via your like sonar frequencies and stuff. I feel like that's pretty cool too.
Well, Seth, I will say something to you. Everybody who I know who's met me and all the animals I've rescued, they say, I want to be reincarnated as one of your animals, Dedee. Because I swear to you, I spend more money on my freaking rescued animals than I do both my boys and me.
What do you have? What rescued animals do you have?
Now, the stock is low right now. It's a geriatric Rottweiler mix. She's like 10. She got my heating pad last night because she's incontinent. I didn't put her diaper on. I got her little skirt diaper. It's actually cute, but I forgot to put it on. It was my fault. And then of course, we went to New Mexico to do Big Sky. I had to bring rescue Great Pyrenees back with us because doesn't everybody just great, huge 2-year-old.
Oh my God.
Huge. And then we have a rescued orb cat from a kill shelter, and her name is Leonard. Long story. My boys, named everything. That's why Sparta, who's a girl, Spartan, boys. I tell you, it's all boys over here. Lots of and my son has a Maine Coon that's 16 pounds, only a year old.
You have a lot of big animals.
Yeah. Well, look, my sister has, not Michelle, but my other sister has this little teeny, my cats are bigger than her freaking dog. I'm like, that's not even a dog. That's a rat dog. Rat dragon. I call her dog a rat dragon. And she just because I don't have horses for animals. Seth, I want to say thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this has been so special. Thank you for helping me be part of the solution. And okay, so we're not going to do Big Sky together, which is fine. I'll tell you why. We didn't get to act together anyways.
We had,
right?
like a moment together.
Yeah, it was up the road. I was
like, hey,
up
the road from each other.
I don't think I got a close up on that. What are you doing over there? Seth, thank you so much. I'm excited, and I'm excited about your future and my future. Open door.
Me too. I'm excited to see what's next. I'm excited to reference this conversation, knowing what's next for you, what's next for me, and then putting it all together and realizing, what's better as a result of what feels like.
Yeah, exactly. Just remember, put that. Thank you, sweetie.
Thank you. All right. Mwah.
For more information on today's guest, check out the show notes below or visit our website at www.downwithdedee.com.